What's up, YouTubeverse? It's your boy RB back again for another one. I know I've been gone for a little bit, but I've been working on some things, and I just kind of felt like I was spreading my time a little bit too thin, and I had to sacrifice something, So from here on out, I will still be doing the show, of course, but from here on for a little bit, I'm going to be posting less. Um, Videos might be a little bit longer, more detailed, but definitely posting less often. Anyway, with all that being said, oh, also, you might notice I've had to move the show up to the bedroom. We're actually getting exercise equipment, and it's going down in our basement. So the Nuance machine had got kicked out of the basement, and now we are up in the bedrooms. But yeah, with all that being said, let's get right into this here. Today we are talking about the NFL, of course, and we're also going to talk about Stephen A. Smith, who's been talking a lot about how he pushed Max Kellerman off of First Take, and he actually just won't stop talking about it. So we're going to talk about it. Anyway, let's get right into it. Nuance Machine episode 60. Let's kick it. All right, before we get started, please hit that like and subscribe button. Also, check out my shop, breezysprints.com, where you can find all original designs printed on high quality tees, tank tops, sweatshirts, and hoodies. All designs are done by yours truly, and without further ado, let's get into it. All right, first off, we're going to talk about the worst part of the NFL: injuries. Injuries are like the worst part of professional sports, period. Like, it sucks when someone goes down. You hate it for that person. It also makes the gameplay worse. That's kind of your second thought behind the thought of, is that person okay? But yeah, the the play is worse when your stars get injured. And recently we've had a ton of injuries to running backs. And this is the main reason why NFL franchises have stopped paying running backs. I did that story a few weeks back about how NFL running backs have been devalued, and this is exactly the reason why. You got running backs like Nick Chubb, Saquon Barkley, Austin Eckler, Aaron Jones, David Montgomery, J.K. Dobbins, Jamal Williams, Evan Hull, and Salvon Ahmed. The most notable being Nick Chubb, who suffered a horrific knee injury. I mean, his career might be over. That knee injury was so bad. And it's just horrible timing for him. He just signed that huge contract. Like, who knows how that's going to end up. It's a bad break for the Browns. It's a bad break for Nick Chubb. It puts even more pressure on Deshaun Watson, so he's going to need even more massages to get through it all, I'm sure. But, I really wasn't expecting the Browns to be a playoff team anyway, so this definitely doesn't help their chances, but these guys aren't going anywhere. Joe Burrow actually has not looked very good either. And it gets worse because it looks like Joe Burrow is also hurt. He re aggravated that calf injury that he was recovering from in the preseason. And you could argue that that was the reason why Burrow has been so off to begin with. It's because he's had to spend the preseason rehabbing instead of practicing with his teammates. And he's still kind of knocking the rust off. Combine that with the fact that he's not 100% healthy right now, and it's just a bad recipe. I think the Bengals have a chance to turn it around, but Burrow has to get healthy for them to have a chance at the playoffs. Burrow's injury status is questionable, so we don't know if he's going to play, but hopefully he will play. Lucky for the Bengals, they play the Rams. Unlucky for the Bengals, the Rams still have Aaron Donald. So if Joe Burrow plays and the Bengals can keep Aaron Donald away, hopefully they have a decent shot at avoiding an 0-3 start. That other team from Pennsylvania is really on the struggle bus.
We struggle and 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 we struggle.
The Steelers look terrible. Kenny Pickett hasn't taken that leap that he needed to take, and Pittsburgh's defense is uncharacteristically bad for a Mike Tomlin coach team. And if this continues, it might be time for Mike Tomlin to move on. I hate saying that. I think he's one of the best coaches in the NFL. So if he does move on, he'll get a new job very quickly. But I think that maybe his voice has gotten a little stale in that locker room. Also, Steelers fans are getting really impatient with him. And if the fans are getting impatient, that means that management's not far behind. And, so it doesn't look good for Mike Tomlin and the Steelers right now. But we'll see if they can turn this around. I don't think they can, and so that means that Tomlin's the most likely going to be out with the Steelers. The Ravens have looked great, but that's just because they haven't played anyone, and they're going to continue that easy schedule this week, playing against the Colts. I expect Anthony Richardson to struggle a little bit with that Baltimore defense, and the Colts gave up 31 points to the Jags, so I can't imagine the Colts defense is going to do any better against Lamar Jackson. Now let's get to my squad, the Eagles. The Eagles look meh so far this season. I mean, we're 2-0, so you can't complain about that. But Jalen Hurts did struggle quite a bit in the first game. Granted, he was playing in terrible weather. Second game, he looked a little bit better, but still not looking like the guy we need him to be to win it all. I, along with most Eagles fans, think the issue is the play calling. Having Jalen Hurts run read options is all kinds of stupid. That play should not happen more than 5 times for the entire season. Like, do it once in a blue moon to catch the defense off guard. Besides that, that read option play needs to be at the back of the playbook. That play is trash. I also feel the same about the RPO. Run it a couple times a game, maybe. Catch the defense off guard. But making your base offense out of it is not going to work. You notice that in the last game, after a few failed RPO attempts followed up by a failed read option play, the Eagles fans were booing.
Nowhere to go. Brown and Devontae Smith, 35. And the Vikings are right there again to button up the middle. It's a rather impatient crowd.
After that, the Eagles completely changed their game plan and ran it down the Vikings' throats. They outrushed them 259-28. I mean, that's crazy. And me personally, I'm a firm believer of a strong running game combined with a vertical play action passing game. And we have the personnel to do that. We have the best offensive line in the league. There's no reason why we shouldn't be running the ball 25 to 30 times a game. With our stable of running backs, not with Jalen Hurts, stop running the ball with Jalen Hurts. Combine that with A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith as two of the best vertical threats in the league. Like, I don't understand why this. I feel like it's easy to figure out, very easy to figure out. Not only that, but this plan has worked in the NFL for 30 some odd years now. It works. Anyway, hopefully the Eagles get the play calling figured out and we can dominate this week against the Bucks. Surprisingly, the Bucks are 2-0. Don't know how the hell that happened. Anyway, let's check in on the Bears. Whoa! What the hell happened here? Justin Fields hasn't taken that leap to be a better passer, and their defensive coordinator just resigned for personal reasons. There's all kinds of rumors surrounding that story, including rumors of an FBI raid, but the Bears strongly deny that claim. So things aren't looking great in the Shy. They're 0-2, and they face the defending Super Bowl champs without their defensive coordinator. So, yeah, the Bears season might already be done. The Vikings are on the struggle bus as well, man.
We struggle and 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 we struggle.
And luckily for them, they're in one of the worst divisions in the league. The Lions are much improved, but I just won't believe they'll make the playoffs until I see it. But the Vikings need to win this next game, otherwise they're going to fall into the shadow realm with the Bears. I hate saying this, but the Cowboys look really, really good. Until you look and see who they played. They beat the brakes off the Giants, but the Giants might be the only team in the NFC East that doesn't make the playoffs. Also, keep in mind that game was played in like a monsoon. Then they beat the Jets, but since the Jets lost Aaron Rodgers, the Jets are an average team at best now. And next they play the Arizona Cardinals without Kyler Murray. So the Cowboys will most likely start the season 3-0. I'm not really impressed by that. They haven't played anybody yet. So the Saints snuck up on everybody, I feel like. They snuck up on the Chargers and they beat the awful, awful Titans. I said in my season preview that the Saints were the best team in this horrible division. So they're going to beat up on everyone in that division and probably get bounced early in the playoffs. But they play the Packers this week, who are 1-1. Jordan Love does have 6 touchdown passes so far this season. That's 6 more than Aaron Rodgers.
Oh, brother, this guy stinks!
I'm sorry, that was unnecessary. But no, seriously, what terrible, horrible, awful luck for the Jets and Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers tearing his Achilles is just the most devastating thing that could have happened. And this team goes from a playoff team to average at best. Like, they're going to struggle to make the playoffs. They'll probably fall just short. So, tough break for the Jets. They're not going to be good this year. Try again next year. Although Aaron Rodgers says he's going to be back in 4 months, which
Did something go wrong with my Achilles surgery?
Your surgery was a success, but unfortunately you've gone completely crazy. You've taken too many mushrooms and hits to the head.
What do you mean? How am I crazy?
You started to say you'll be back in 4 months and you'll be ready for the playoffs.
I will be ready for the playoffs. Ah!
Snap out of it, man. You tore your Achilles and you're going to miss the entire season.
I'll show you. I'll show everyone I'll be back when we make the playoffs. Ah!
Your team can't make the playoffs without you, don't you understand? Nurse, get in here, he's getting worse.
he's insane. Cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs. Anyway, the Lions surprised everyone in week 1 by beating the Chiefs.
I was looking at our week 1 matchup. Who the heck are the Lions?
Never heard of them.
Look them up.
Apparently, they've been a franchise since the 30s, and their QB is some dude named Jared Goof.
Anything else?
Says they're best known for losing every game in a season, and all their best players retire early because the team sucks.
This should be a piece of cake.
Who's got cake?
Pat Mahomes didn't have his main weapon, Travis Kelce. Then they played a close game in overtime at the Seahawks, where they played fairly well, but just came up short against a really good team. And I think the Lions might be for real this season. It feels weird saying that, but again, I won't believe that this team will make the playoffs until I see it. So it's just kind of one of those things where, like, we'll see what happens, but I'm not making any predictions on that. The Falcons might be the most uninteresting 2-0 team in the league right now. I mean, they've beaten the Panthers and the Packers, and I'm supposed to be excited about that? Meh. The Broncos have been letting Russ cook, and let's just say Russ's cooking isn't exactly Michelin star. Nah, he's cooking up like Hamburger Helper right now. Like, it's edible, but you can't really call yourself a chef if that's the best you can do. This metaphor is silly and falling apart. My point is that Russ has been very average lately. Like, he's been playing well, but not playing well enough to win games, and he's struggled in key moments. We'll see if he can turn it around. I'm not really sure what to make of the Buffalo Bills right now. They somehow lost to the Jets after the Jets had all the wind knocked out of their sails from Aaron Rodgers' Achilles injury. And then they turn around and beat the brakes off the Raiders, who might just be the worst team in the NFL. They play the Commanders this week, and I actually think that this will be a good test for the Bills because the Commanders look like they could possibly be a playoff team, which feels really weird to say. If I didn't talk about your team, I'm sorry. They're probably really uninteresting to me. I was going to talk about the Giants and Niners, but who cares? Anyway, we're going to take a left turn here and talk about Stephen A. Smith for just a minute.
Top of the mound.
The catcher looks like he's about the size of a quarter.
One hop.
I always preface whenever I talk about Stephen A. Smith saying that I have a ton of respect for Stephen A. He is one of the reasons why I became so interested in sports. He's one of my inspirations for doing this show. But at this point, I'm more of a fan of Stephen A.'s podcast than I am of First Take. First Take is old news to me. I don't really care for it anymore. One of the things I like about his podcast, though, is how open and honest he is about topics outside of sports. I don't always agree with what he has to say, especially when it comes to his politics. He seems to be more of a corporatist, and I'm definitely not. But I still respect his views. He comes off as very genuine on his podcast. But with that being said, he's been a little bit too open and honest about how he pushed out Max Kellerman from First Take.
I didn't like working with him, man. It's just that damn simple. I didn't like it.
So if you don't know, Max Kellerman was Stephen A. Smith's debate partner on First Take for many years, and then he was pushed out of that position by Stephen A. Smith. First off, Stephen A. straight up admitted that they wanted Max because he was white.
Listen, I had mad respect from him from the standpoint that white dude, highly intelligent, Ivy League educated from Columbia.
So like right off the jump, that shows you that they were trying to set up this white versus black dynamic here, which is what they always try to do. And, specifically when it comes to the social issues. Thing is that Max is a very unique guy where he's white, but he has a degree from an Ivy League school in history. and he's immersed himself in hip hop culture. Like, those three things together is a very unique blend. And so you get a guy who's like a hip hop historian and a civil rights historian.
Black folks lament all the time. We totally support protests. We are protesters. We got a lot to protest about. But when you riot, particularly in your own community, because when the fire stops burning and the damage has been done, and you've done it in your own community,
it's better not to riot. I'm not pro-riot, okay? Let me be very clear about that off the top.
I'm not saying that. I just brought that up.
Rioting in their own communities, black people don't own those communities. They don't own those communities. And this culture has been rioting against black people for hundreds of years now.
And so when it came to the Colin Kaepernick situation, the George Floyd situation, the people kneeling during the national anthem situation, Max Kellerman refused to play the white guy. He refused to be the heel. No, he had beliefs and he was not going to stray from those beliefs. And it made Stephen A look like the bad guy.
You had an opportunity to show up for a workout. And oh, by the way, you showed up in a Kunta Kinte shirt. That's what you did for owners that you want to play for. When you want a job, these are not things that you do.
Who cares if he's wearing a Kunta Kinte t-shirt? Like, is our original sin in this country slavery, yes or no? Is that the reason that 31 of the 32 owners are white, yes or no? Because of the power structure, yes or no? Yes, of course it is. That's the very thing that's related to the reason Kaepernick was protesting in the first place. So what if he shows up with the Kunta Kinte t-shirt?
And T.O. came on the show and completely blew everything up.
Max almost seems blacker than you, Stephen A.
So after this moment, it seemed like Max and Stephen A's relationship soured.
Say they saw the tension between you and Max developing on air before his departure from the show. Did you hear any of that?
I heard some of it. I would take full responsibility for that. That's totally my fault.
Okay.
And the reason why it was my fault, because I didn't like working with him, man. It's just that damn simple. I didn't like it.
And since Stephen A had creative control of that show, he lobbied to have Max replaced. Now, you might be wondering, who is my source for this info? Well, Stephen A.
It was all business to me. And it was about, look, man, I'm trying to win. And I don't believe I can win with you. We don't work. So when I went upstairs to management, my exact words were, look, if he's that important to you, give him first take. I'll leave.
Stephen A.
Stephen A. I'm telling you what I said. I'm only giving you what I said.
Because he won't stop talking about it. He has talked about it on his show. He has gone on other people's podcasts, podcast after podcast after podcast. And here he's on Joe Budden's podcast talking about it once again. And it's just not making him look good at all.
Does he look like a bitch? What? One more goddamn time. Does he look like a bitch? What? One more goddamn time. Does he look like a bitch? What? One more goddamn time.
I don't remember asking you a goddamn thing. English, motherfucker, do you speak it?
He's going into a lot of detail about why he pushed Max Kellerman out, how he pushed Max Kellerman out. And it's not serving him well at all. Not at all. It's not making you look good, Stephen A. You look
like a bitch. What? One more goddamn time.
Now, Terrell Owens is back at it again, and he's clearly in Max's corner. Then you have Marcellus Wiley out here defending Max Kellerman. He said he's ready to put the pads on to protect his boy.
Stephen A went full pads in this practice. Now, for all y'all football players, y'all already know what that means. Y'all get to the board, you check, you say, oh, full pads today? Okay, and then you lock in. You're like, all right. This ain't play today. Full pads. Okay. Well, since Stephen A wanted to go full pads on Max, let me dress the part too. Let me throw on my pads as well and address the situation.
Meanwhile, you know who hasn't said a damn word? Max Kellerman. So it's clear to me that Stephen A has some kind of guilt towards the whole situation with Max. And he's trying very hard to justify how he forced Max off that show. And he just kind of has diarrhea of the mouth when he comes to talking about it because he's trying so hard to get people to get back on his side. I'm sorry, Stephen A. You're just digging yourself into a deeper and deeper hole. Anyway, it's going to be all for this one, guys. I will see you on the next one.
Can't wait.
Love you guys. Peace.
Dark side, light this bitch up.